Hello, it's so nice to see so many people here. Governor Inslee, thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to speak with you. I think here in Washington State, we have to start with the Climate Commitment Act. And this is your 2021 law that sets up the state's carbon auctions, reinvests that revenue in other climate-related programs, and a possible repeal will be before voters in Washington State in November. You've described that as a costly mistake for the state. What happens if this law and all of these programs just go away?
Well, I would say it's not a costly mistake. It is a cataclysmic loss, and we do not intend to lose. And by the way, I want to welcome everybody to the state of Washington, the most innovative state in the most beautiful country and the most wonderful planet in the solar system. So welcome. You are in the right place. And because we recognize the incredible state we have, we do not intend to lose her. We do not intend to surrender to a pollution blanket that allows special interests to rip us off and then burn us up. And so we have an incredible tool against that pollution blanket, which is the Climate Commitment Act. This act reduces pollution. It limits pollution. And by the way, we don't say this enough. Climate change means pollution, and people do not like pollution. And we need to speak of it as pollution because that's what it is. And this, in the first instance, puts a limit on pollution, and it is the most aggressive limit on pollution.
On carbon emissions.
On carbon emissions in the United States. Secondly, it creates a fund to help families and businesses enjoy the incredible innovative work we're doing in a clean energy future, to help people get heat pumps, to help children get air filtration system in their schools so they can breathe when these forest fires are polluting our skies, so that we can get electric school buses, so we can have better ways to fireproof our facilities, to get people, by the way, we're proud of this, first program to help lower-income people get a lease on an electric vehicle as well. So it is both a limit on pollution, which affects our health, and this is a health issue. It is not just the polar bears. It is our children who are being subjected to an epidemic of asthma. So that's worth fighting for, and we intend to win this.
So I wanted to talk about these programs because we've already seen just the threat of repeal is impacting the demand for carbon credits and thus the revenue that comes in. So the most recent auction in June brought in less than $190 million compared to nearly $660 million in the second quarter of last year. So I was wondering if you could explain a little bit what this huge swing in revenue means for those programs that are funded through this Climate Commitment Act.
Well, we actually do not think of this as a troublesome sign. This is still going to produce billions of dollars of revenue to help families through this transition, to help companies get going, and we have so many companies that are doing great work here. So we feel it's actually working. What you look at these carbon auction systems, you've typically seen a reduction over time, even when there is no initiative. So we believe we are on a good pace. It is a stable market, and importantly, all of the credits were sold. Over $300 million of money was spent. So there is a demand for this. We think this system is working. And it's working in ways that, we think of this globally, of the global challenge we have. But I think of it from a family perspective. I met a woman over in Walla Walla. She runs a hospice facility, and we got her a heat pump into her facility. And I was asking her about it, and when she was telling me about the difference it's made for her patients, her residents, she started crying. And I go, why are you crying? And she said, you don't understand the difference it's made to the people who, are at the end of life, to be able to have a comfortable room to set their heating in a place that's very, very hot. This is something I look at as a very personal issue for the benefits. And these folks who are trying to take these benefits away is just remarkably callous of A, being climate deniers when we know this pollution is killing the planet, and B, want to take things away from my families. And I'm not going to let anybody take anything away from families in the state of Washington. They deserve this, and they're going to get it.
So I wanted to talk about these people, because the last time we spoke, you described those pushing back on your climate work as forces who want to give up on progress. So there are a lot of people who are concerned about the climate, maybe not part of the activist community, but see the impacts of it every day, but might not agree with this approach or might have different ideas. And I was wondering how we make combating climate change and making this a priority, the biggest tent possible, to bring in people of different political persuasions, different ideologies, and make sure that everyone feels like there's a place for them in this fight?
Well, the good news is the vast majority of Washingtonians understand climate science. They're not like the MAGA person that denies it and calls it a hoax and says that wind turbines cause cancer. That is a minority position. Vast majority of Washingtonians understand the scientific principles behind climate change. And the way we do this is that folks are now experiencing this in their own lives. 10, 15 years ago, climate change was a graph. It was CO2 parts per million. Now it is the fact that your child can't go outside in August, and this is a reality, 2 of the last 4 years. Our kids couldn't go outside because of the smoke they're choking on from the fires in Canada and from our own forests.
We felt that in Washington, D.C. last year.
Washington, D.C. Yeah. They're now experiencing the tremendous heat. They're seeing salmon runs decline, that they can't go fishing. They're now experiencing this in a real world. So people are demanding, and we should respond to give them solutions to this problem. Now, the other thing is, and I'm going to talk about the moral aspect of this, but the economic aspect too, they are now experiencing the benefits of this economically. They're getting heat pumps. They're getting help for electric school buses. They're getting help for air filtration systems at our schools. They're getting all of this assistance, and they're getting jobs. This is the greatest job-creating opportunity we have. I can't throw a rock without hitting a clean energy company and the jobs that have been created. So they have a take-home, where you take-home pay associated with this innovation. And the innovation in our state is really leading the nation, frankly, on the things we're doing. The advanced battery manufacturing, 2 plants, most advanced silicon anode batteries in the world are in Moses Lake, Washington. We're making aerospace fuel out of carbon dioxide and water in Moses Lake, Washington at the 12 company. You just can't overstate the amount of job creation that's going on. So this is a pocketbook issue with folks. But when you ask, how are we going to get folks to buy into this? Because basically we all share something, which is a sense of morality. This is a moral issue. It is not just an economic one. It is a moral issue because it is a commitment to our children. And everybody shares that, regardless, in some deep way, to want to take care of their kids. And I believe we need to talk this more, that this is a moral cause, not just an economic one.
And the kids get it.
The kids certainly get it. Well, I'll tell you, you go to a 7th grade class and you ask them who believes there's climate change, and 95% of the hands go up, and who believes we should do something about it, and 96% go up. So does my math add up there? I'm not really
Don't worry
sure,
about it.
Anyway, yeah, the kids get it, and they're the ones who are going to be living with it, right? And this is personally how I look at this. It's why I'm so passionate about that. Trudy and I have 6 grandkids. They've been officially declared the cutest grandkids in Washington State.
My parents might disagree, but...
And, are they going to be able to ski? You just had some athletes here talking about ski. Are they going to be able to ski in the Cascade Mountains? Well, that's very much in doubt right now. Are they going to be able to have their kids go out and not breathe forest fire smoke in August? That's in doubt. We've lost 40% of the volume of ice on Mount Rainier during my lifetime. Imagine to project at the end of their lifetime. I looked out my window this morning, and I was reminded all of the kelp around Bainbridge Island has disappeared, dead. Climate change has killed something that has been endemic, these beautiful kelp forests that were previously in Puget Sound. So this is a moral issue, and that's what's going to unite us ultimately.
So you were the one that brought up former President Trump, and I wanted to ask about the stakes for November. Obviously, there's going to be a race to elect your successor here in Washington State, but you've also served in Washington in the House of Representatives, and with the House, the Senate, the White House in play in November, there's been a lot of talk about that over the past 2 days here, but if you could just briefly describe in your own words how you see the stakes for the country in November.
It's the difference between a chance to arrest this horrific train coming down the tracks or letting it run over us. That's the issue in these federal elections. And I don't overstate this. Look, we've had some real progress on the federal level. The Inflation Reduction Act has meant so much by creating this new innovation science. We're seeing the impact in our state with job creation. It's been a wonderful tool. So we've had some really tremendous momentum. But we know that if the election goes with the climate deniers, that'll stop. That'll come to an absolute stop. And I hate to say that, but that is the reality. And it's very sad to say that. I wish we had two parties working on this. Mm-hmm. It deserves to have both parties working on this, but unfortunately there's only one at the moment. So at the moment, the only safe place, frankly, for a Republican is out of office. And I will say that. That's what I believe. That's what I believe.
Given all that.
What's that? I want to say that on a nonpartisan basis, okay? So
we'll allow you to have your partisan moment. But given all that, given those stakes, is President Biden the best person to defeat Trump in November?
Well, I just focus on how horrific the former president was on this issue. To have any person in public life deny the existence of climate change is unbelievable, and he needs to be kept out of office.
So the stakes are high.
The stakes are high. I believe President Biden has done some great work on climate, but we got to focus on keeping Donald Trump out of office. That's what I'm focused on, and winning this initiative too. By the way, for those who are interested in this issue, it's not just the White House. We have a battle here with those folks who want to eliminate the Climate Commitment Act.
So is Biden the best person to do that in November?
People will make that decision, but I can tell you he's done some great work on climate change. Mm-hmm. I know there's questions, but again, I want to focus on beating Donald Trump. That's what I'm focused on.
Mm-hmm. You've talked about a lot of stuff that's happened here in Washington State that you're very much hoping stays in place, that would be the best option for the state. What else have you done at the state level that should be replicated on a federal level by the next Democratic administration, be it Biden or someone else? Are there any Washington state policies that should be is it time for a national carbon market?
So I think, first off, this has worked in our state. We would recommend it to every other jurisdiction because it has worked really effectively in reducing pollution and helping families through this transition. So it's been a very successful program. But beyond that, we need some additional help in the transportation sector. We have a clean fuel standard, but we need the federal government to move forward to allow us to adopt a clean car standard along with California. I mentioned this lease program that I would recommend to people. We need to get lower income people get access to electric vehicles. We're doing very well on this. We've had almost 1 in 5 cars this last year to be EVs, but we want to expand and accelerate that program. We think that our building codes have been extremely successful, and this is the little secret thing in fighting climate change. We need to keep wasting energy heating and cooling our homes and offices, and we have, I think, fair to say, the best building codes so that we bring efficiency. People get less energy costs heating and cooling their homes, and I'm very, very proud in that regard. So these are all suites of things we've done in our state. I would recommend to other states and the federal government, and I think that's possible in both places.
You mentioned building codes. There's also another ballot initiative that has not yet been certified by the Secretary of State to prohibit bans on natural gas. Do you see this in kind of the same level of concern as the CCA repeal, or is it more about watching the strategy potentially be successful in rolling back some of the climate initiatives that you've done here in Washington?
Well, I think both laws are good laws, and we should preserve them. And you hate to ever choose between your children or which one you love the most. But if you force me into that, I would say that the Climate Commitment Act is the great-grandmother of all our activities and would be the largest impact to preserve. And it's the most immediate, too. The other one, frankly, is planning decades ahead from now. This is one that's right now that we have to preserve. And it's working right now. It's helping people get that work. It's helping build our ferry boats. Look, we desperately need new ferry boats. We have 5 now in order of electric ferry boats. If the climate commitment goes back, there's no money there to build new fireboats or new ferry boats. So this is an immediate need. It's where the battle is being fought, and I'm energized by it.
So speaking of being energized, you have said that you're planning to run through the tape in your last year as governor. So I know that you still have a lot ahead of you into the fall and into the end of the year. But you've also been very much a national leader, a national voice in this climate conversation. So I'd like to ask what's next for you, not just in terms of like whatever job you might pursue, but also how you inspire the rest of us to make this a priority, because the last time you wanted to do that, you ran for president.
Well, that didn't work out really well.
You tried. We did talk about climate.
Well, no, in a sense, it did work out well because,
Sure.
80% of what we proposed has happened in the federal government. So it actually did have an impact, I think. So that was a beneficial thing for all of us. I will be involved in this passion that we have, Trudy and I have, of giving our grandchildren a shot in life. That's what this is all about. And I will be involved in spreading optimism about the clean energy fight and helping effectuate it in some sense. I don't know in what vehicle yet. We will see in what vehicle, but I will be in this fight until they lay me down. Because we live in a very special moment. And I've made this argument. I'm not sure anybody agrees with it or not. But if you look at the whole scope of human history, there is no group of people that are more consequential for the whole species through time. There's been world wars, there's been bubonic plague, they've all these other things. But we live in the most consequential moment of human history because our ability to tame climate change is the one that will set the course for millennia. And we have to win this. And the reason I say this is that, with all of our frustrations about this issue, it's a great time to be alive because we have something that we can do that's very meaningful, and we can win this. And by the way, there's a reason for optimism. Look, we've increased our solar by 400% in the last 5 years, wind by 45%. The price of solar energy has come down 90%. The day before yesterday, I went to 2 fusion companies which have promised that might give us fusion energy coming right out of Washington State, zero waste, infinite energy. So there is cause for optimism on this. We are accelerating our progress dramatically. It's just that we got to pick up the pace. Mm-hmm. So what we need to know is that we're capable of doing these things. It's just we need to do them faster.
In the face of this collective challenge, is that in a time of division, is that collective challenge kind of the unifying call that we all need?
Is it which? I'm sorry?
Kind of a unifying call that, especially as the younger generation, the 7th graders that you're talking about, age into being the next realm of leaders, how do we make sure that kind of unity of purpose stays with them?
Well, I think by appealing to people where they live and what they care about. If you have children, you might want to do something to give them a future. If you have grandchildren, nieces, nephews, or you just have a neighbor, it's the same thing. If you're a business person and you want to look at how you grow your economy, we are one of the hottest economies in the world right now because of our clean energy revolution that we are experiencing. And when I meet the entrepreneurs, they continue to come to the state of Washington because we recognize that innovation potential on an economic basis. And if you simply like to look at snow in the mountains, we got that solution for you too. So you just meet people to ask them what's important in their life and then talk with them about how to make sure their dreams are realized. And this is something all of us can share in. That's the other thing in these fights. Look, you don't have to be governor or president or senator to get involved in this fight. Everybody here has a social network. Everybody here can, go home and tell people what you think about this issue. And I encourage people to do that, whatever that is. We have power. We have authority in our own lives to affect this. And I encourage people to do that.
Governor Inslee, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.